Hello, brothers and sisters. Thanks for joining. Hey, the last few days, I've been doing a few stories related to the justice system in the U.S. and the U.K., and this one here caught my attention. So this is in the Straits Times. I think it's brand new. UK counselor acquitted by jury over cut all their throats speech. You know what? What the heck is that? All right, so let's see what's going on here. So here's a 2024 photo showing Ricky Jones front and center attending an anti-racism protest in London. And so you look around, you got the usual suspects, smash fascism and racism. So professionally made signs. So somebody's funding this. This isn't completely organic. We got like the Russian or USSR hammer and sickle over here. There are definitely some communist supporters here. And then what do we got here? Smash the far right. Okay. And a couple more of these kind of professionally made signs back here. Another one here, smash the far right. All right, so this to me looks like it's a paid protest like we've been seeing quite often, and I guess this is the labor counselor Ricky Jones. Let's read a little more about it. All right, so we got summary. Counselor Ricky Jones was acquitted of encouraging violent disorder after saying far-right activists should have their throats cut. Jones claimed his comments weren't literal, referencing razor blades found on trains and denying intent to incite violence. Right-wing figures allege a two-tier justice system, contrasting Jones's acquittal with harsher sentence for similar offenses. Yeah, and I've talked about this before. There's definitely a two-tier justice system in the UK. If you say things the government likes, which tend to be left-leaning, that's okay. You can say whatever you want. If you say things the government doesn't like, which tend to be more right-leaning, don't stop, don't pass go, go straight to jail. Yeah, this is Britain where people are being arrested for mean tweets, and they're being arrested and investigated for saying things in WhatsApp. Things like, hey, I don't want migrants in my country, or I don't like that migrant flag on my street. And it's all under the guise of, oh, these things are racist. That's how they're able to do it. Because technically, I think these things aren't actually illegal in the UK, but they have such strong anti-racism laws that are fairly vague that they can be applied to anything, is what we're seeing. So let's watch it. Let's watch what he really said. I'm a big fan of that instead of just reading what other people say, because you got to take anything you read on the internet with a grain of salt. So I went out and I did find the video. So I believe that this is real video of the said incident. So it's only something like 20 seconds. So let's watch it.
They are disgusting, nasty bastards, and we need to cut their throats and get rid of them all. I just want to say thank you all. I'm going to leave it now. And free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah. So I heard something like they're all Nazi bastards and we need to cut all their throats. So let's just listen to it one more time. I don't want to put words in the man's mouth.
They are disgusting, nasty bastards, and we need to cut their throats and get rid of them all.
All right, so they're fat, disgusting fascists, I guess, and we need to cut their throats and get rid of them all with a kind of cut the throat kind of motion. All right, very nice. And he's a UK counselor. It's interesting that none of the sites that I could find had the actual event linked. For some reason, that must be against the rules in the UK. All right, so this was published August 15th. Let's read more about it. But I would say that looked like an incitement to violence to me. And this is a tricky thing because what he just did, I'm not sure would have actually been illegal in the U.S. because the U.S. has very strong speech laws. So unless you're advocating to do violence and inciting it to go do it right now, it's been ruled as kind of legal in the U.S. So what he just did would probably actually be legal in the U.S. Now, I'm not sure it should be. He's saying people on the far right need their throats cut and we need to get rid of them. I think that's a little over the top. And for me personally, that goes a little too far on the free speech. Again, I'm not a free speech absolutist, but I'm not for inciting violence against anyone. But in the UK, the laws are different. So let's read some more about this. A British council on August 15th acquitted of encouraging violent disorder for saying far-right activists should have their throats cut amid riots in 2024, drawing claims from far-right politicians of hypocritical two-tier justice. Mr. Ricky Jones made the comments at a counter-protest in London after 3 girls were murdered in the North English town of Southport and was suspended by the ruling party. Okay, good. At least his own party recognized you really can't say that kind of stuff. It just doesn't seem right, Mr. Jones. Disinformation on social media said the teenager who committed the murders at a Taylor Swift themed dance event was an Islamist migrant fueling days of violent riots, including attacks on mosques, hotels of asylum seekers. Mr. Jones, 58, was cleared by a jury following a trial at Sarnsbrook Crown Court. He made remarks to a crowd gathered near an immigration advice center in London after reports that far-right supporters were planning a protest. They are disgusting Nazi fascists. We need to cut their throats and get rid of them all, he said, while running a finger across his throat. Yeah, I think that's what I saw. Mr. Jones gave evidence that he did not intend his words to be taken literally, and that might be true. And he said his comments referred to far-right stickers with hidden razor blades found on a train. Now, that's bullshit. I do actually believe he didn't mean to be taken literally. He got a little overheated in the moment. But this whole razor blades thing, he's just making stuff up to try to give himself benefit of the doubt. We all saw what he did. We all saw what he said. Now, the problem with that kind of speech is it winds up the mentally ill. And so there may be people that go out and take action based on that speech. But again, they're probably most likely to be mentally ill. So again, in America, I'm not sure what he did would be illegal. It'd be up to a jury to decide. I personally don't like it, but yeah, I'm not sure it would be illegal. Right-wing politicians and activists said his case was an example of how Britain had an unfair police and justice system, with those who voiced concerns about immigration treated differently to those who support liberal left-wing causes. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. They contrasted Mr. Jones' treatment with that of Lucy Conley, the wife of a conservative counselor who was jailed for 31 months for inciting racial hatred with a post urging mass deportation of migrants and the burning of their hotels. So that's the rub right there. That's the problem. So the laws are different in the UK. And this lady who said, I want migrants deported and we should burn down their hotels, got 31 months. That guy got nothing. That's the problem. It's the hypocrisy of the two-tier system. If she deserves 30 months, I would say he deserves 31 months. Simple as that. Because she could make all the same claims that I was just speaking on Twitter and doing it like all fired up, and I didn't really mean it. And the burning of hotels is inciting violence. So I compare that to slash their throats. I don't think there's anything wrong with urging the deportation of migrants, but I don't think we should burn down their hotels. I think that is not right. Violence is never the answer while the political process exists to get your way. That's sort of like if you look back at America with the Boston Tea Party, it was really all about the whole no taxation without representation thing. The colonists felt like they had no voice in Parliament, and that Parliament was just telling them what to do, and there was no political outlet for these frustrations, and so they resorted to violence. And I think that's really the only kind of acceptable time violence can be called for, is when there is isn't a political process that you can work within to bring change. But in this case, in Britain, there is such a thing. And so I would say violence in these situations is never called for. But again, so this is definitely 100% two-tier justice. Unlike Mr. Jones, she pleaded guilty to the offense. Okay, so that's part of the problem there. She's got some overzealous judge who wants to make an example of her, I would say, instead of it going to a full jury for the jury to look at, the totality of the facts and put themselves in their shoes. And so this lady messed up. Lucy Conley, she should have gone to a full trial. I think that's the answer. Don't plead guilty. I think she would have had a better chance with the court, with the jury. But I get it. She wanted this all to go away as quickly as possible. She was probably embarrassed that this even happened. And then boom, she got hit. I'm sure she never expected to get 31 months for a tweet. If it were me, I would expect at most to get a fine for a tweet. I would say him, Mr. Jones out in public winding up a crew is much more likely to lead to violence quickly than a tweet. People say dumb stuff all the time on the internet, and that's not right. But I would say doing it there in person is the bigger problem. But again, she messed up. She should have went to court and demanded a trial by jury. Mr. Chris Philp, the opposition Conservative Party's Home Affairs spokesman, said on X, the development of two-tier justice is becoming increasingly alarming. Mr. Zia Youssef from the populist right-wing Reform UK, which is leading in opinion polls, also compared Mr. Jones's acquittal to Conley's sentence. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been labeled two-tier Keir by some opponents last summer after claims some ethnic groups were policed more leniently than others, a suggestion that has been rejected by senior ministers, police chiefs, and prosecutors. No, I think we see it right here. If as long as you're whatever you're saying is popular on the left in the UK, you get a more lenient outcome than if you say something that is on the right. And I'm not talking about people on the far right. I'm just saying right opinions, like we shouldn't have migrants in this country. I think that is a fair opinion that somebody should have, and that shouldn't be a problem. But it looks like they're criminalizing anything that happens on the right. So yeah, two-tier justice is a thing in the UK, 100%. All right, that's what I thought. If you like this, give me a like and subscribe. If you don't watch me. Thanks. Bye.